Let's talk about the Northwest Arkansas Council. It was based on an organization in Little Rock of doing similar things, which we called the Good Suit Club. And so Sam and some friends, Don Tyson and others, Mark Simmons, got together and decided that the business community in Northwest Arkansas needed to step up to the plate and become better organized. And that was the germ that ended up being the Northwest Arkansas Council. And they hired Uvalde Lindsay, who is one of the heroes of Northwest Arkansas. Truly is. Great friend, talented man. And its first focus was the airport and Highway 4, what's now 412 between Springdale and Silent Springs, the state line. So back in those days, we didn't have an airport that could service what's now become Northwest Arkansas. We had great trucking companies, but we had no freaking highways. How strange is that? Highway 33 to Tulsa was the biggest killer in the state of Tulsa. And the state of Oklahoma. Highway 71 to Fort Smith was the highest killer in the state of Arkansas. They were dangerous roads. And you couldn't get trucks in and out, and we had to have infrastructure. So the great infrastructure needs that have been created in Northwest Arkansas have been dealt with. Beaver Lake, number one. We wouldn't have the water supply we have now but for Beaver Lake. Then that was Clayton Little and Bill Enfield and those guys back in the 50s, 60s. An airport to get in and out of, that's now been accomplished. And a decent highway system. So we now have 4-lane all the way to Kansas City, right? And Fort Smith. And we have 4-lane all the way to the West Coast. Thanks to Oklahoma's turnpike system. So those things have been accomplished. They've been accomplished because they didn't just happen by themselves. They've been accomplished because there are enthusiastic, forward-thinking people in Northwest Arkansas that got it done. And the Northwest Arkansas Council was right at the forefront of the highway system and the airport. The airport would not have been accomplished but for the leadership of the Northwest Arkansas Council, Sam Walton and others, Don Tyson. And I was privileged to be their attorney for 30 years and formed the authority in about 1989 before Sam passed away. We got the authority up and running. And of course, it's 5 cities and 2 counties, right? So there's 7 governmental entities that came together to create it. We had an election. There was a lot of criticism at the beginning. You know, it's called the Field of Dreams, right? And so we had a referendum in the 2 counties that passed with great margins. My friends in Fayetteville were complaining about taking the airport away from them. And God bless Drake Field. It gave us great service for a long time, but Drake Field is surrounded by mountains and it's hemmed in, and it's on the southern end of the population growth of Northwest Arkansas. And one of the things we made sure was going to happen was that wherever it ended up being located, it needed to be in the population center. So now, you know, I live in Fayetteville. It's 30 minutes to the airport, and I'm about as far away as you can be from the airport and still be in Northwest Arkansas. It just takes me 30 minutes to get there thanks to the highways. And now we have become one of the top 100 airports in the United States. It's been highly successful. The ticket prices are too high, but that's because it's largely a business airport. And it's been great for the area. Uvalde Lindsay was the head of getting that done. Alice was instrumentally involved in getting it done, Alice Walton. I remember when the rubber was about to meet the road and it either was going to happen or not happen, standing in the basement of a building in Fayetteville, Arkansas, with two or three folks, Uvalde being one of them, Scott Van Lanningham being one, myself, and a fellow who worked for Alice's investment firm who was going to market the bonds. Remember, we had no contracts with any airport, with any airline. We had no revenue. We had nothing but hope and strong leadership, and trying to sell bonds of investment grade under those circumstances was either going to happen or not happen. And it was about not to happen that night. Our bond people in New York were saying, yeah, we're having difficulty. It's not going to happen. Alice stepped up to the plate, bought them herself. And that's the reason the airport exists today, because she did that.